The Parthenon has been a temple, a church, a mosque, and nowadays is an archaeological site. It has been significantly damaged through the years, and the biggest damage was caused in 1687 as a result of an explosion. This caused the Parthenon to be left as a ruin, and around 50% of its architectural decoration is lost. In present time, we can see some sculptures that have survived throughout the years in different museums where they are best seen and being conserved. In the city of Athens, Greece, a museum called Acropolis Museum was built, and this museum conserves some sculptures remaining in Greece as well as other treasures, which let us learn more about the ancient history of the Acropolis. The marbles and artifacts presenting Greek historical and cultural bases have suffered a lot of damage in the past because of different situations. During the past 2,500 years, the Parthenon has been damaged by earthquakes, fire, exploding gunpowder, looted, and defected because of incorrect preservation methods. The Parthenon was built over 9 years, however, repairing has taken much longer because of the various risks it faced and the past situations that have presented over the course of time. Greece was looking for a diplomatic and political peaceful way to retrieve the Elgin marbles sculptures from England, but they didn't want to take the legal action because they would damage the relationship between both countries. Greece culture's minister said that he believed that the attitudes to the future of the Elgin marbles have been slowly changing and continue to. The Elgin marbles have been a topic of controversy and disagreement between societies and institutions since they were acquired by the United Kingdom in 1816 and passed to the British Museum in London. Because of current political, economic, and social context, the challenges and risks that Parthenon sculptures will face in the future will be determined by the current aspects. And basically, the problem has risen over the years because the British Museum has said that they are not going to return the Elgin marble to the Parthenon.
Taking the Parthenon sculptures from Athens to London created an enormous social and cultural impact. Nowadays, there is a huge controversy regarding the consequences this has brought to Greek culture. The Parthenon sculptures are a cultural heritage, so the Greek government wants to reunite all the Parthenon pieces to restore and enhance the understanding that people have about the pieces in question, to be able to show and tell the full story the way it has to be. Greek people have been devastated for years in consequence of this event. Part of its culture has been taken away from them. The Parthenon sculptures are pieces and symbols that most profoundly unite the Greek people with their history, cults, and mythology. The Parthenon represents the cultural identity of many Greek people. The sculptures have an immense emotional significance, as well as they are part of the national symbolism of Greece. They have too many meanings for many people all around Greece, meanings that are impossible to make them go away. The Parthenon marbles are a big part that defines the national identity of the country, and that makes sense as a whole, not fragmented.
It is not enough to return the marbles to Greece, since the culture and history of this country has been affected for many years by not having the marbles that define them as a country. Also, not only has that been lost, but this issue makes recognition of the need to correct injustices that were committed in the past. Most of the countries or cultures that want their works of art back are minorities or non-first world countries who do not have the ability to get it back. In this type of conflict, we can see the power that some countries and museums have compared to others. It is not enough to return the heritage to the original countries to solve the conflict, because it is a problem of an entire society and culture that has not been respected. At the moment that a restitution is made to their place of origin, their economy improves. The quality of life of the inhabitants improves and tourism increases, so also their history and culture return to their country. The institutions are improved since it begins to see a better economy in general, but when the restitution of the art does not happen, it creates many conflicts between cultures, the people, institutions, and governments, because it is not fair that other countries have something that does not belong to them.
Heritage protection agencies have different roles depending on the organization's objectives. UNESCO is one of the main heritage protection agencies. They have different missions such as to look to encourage the identification, protection, and preservation of heritage around the world. They also play the role to help the state parties safeguard the World Heritage properties by providing them technical assistance and professional training. They also provide emergency assistance for World Heritage sites that are in immediate danger. Like this, other heritage protection agencies play similar roles all around the world.
Cultural appropriation can be observed when an asset is moved from one culture to another, as how this asset is moved can have a massive impact on whether it is appropriated or appreciated. When an asset is moved without the knowledge and authorization of the asset's cultural caretakers or historical owners, it can safely be assumed that the asset is appropriated. While it does have the capacity to generate multicultural practices in that it can facilitate the comprehension of other cultures within a certain culture, this impact is lessened when people realize that the asset was simply taken, much like a spoil of war or trophy.
The overall ideal scenario is for the British Museum and the Greek government to reach an agreement so that both parties are satisfied and the agreement would be fair. The best possible solution that we came up with as a team is for the Parthenon marbles to go back to Greece, where they truly belong. An unbiased professional can conduct a dialogue between Greece and the British Museum, in which the priority is the preservation of the marbles and to carefully relocate them to their place of origin, where they serve as an important purpose of cultural heritage to the community. The solution will be mainly innovative because it will mark one of the first times, if not the first time, that a European museum returns a major cultural artifact that they obtained during its colonial period and doing it willingly. Regardless of the acquisition process, the value of the marbles to the culture must be carefully considered before making a decision. The best possible means of implementing an effective solution can be to think about the cultural, political, and economic repercussions to this issue. After that, a peaceful dialogue that respects both perspectives and both countries willing to settle to a deal that ultimately benefits both parties. The preservation of the marbles will always be the top priority.
In my opinion, I consider that the best scenario will be for the works of art to return to their place of origin and be in a culture where they belong to. It is the fairest and the correct thing because they form a community and represent the past of the Greeks. Also, the most correct thing will be that the countries that have works of art that belongs to other places should be fine for retaining the past and benefiting economically from art from other countries and cultures.
I think that the Parthenon marble should go back to Greece because of its meaning within Greek culture, and also because currently the Acropolis Museum does have the necessary tools and elements to display and care for all the pieces in the right way. Art can be a means when solving problems. Ultimately, it doesn't matter all the looting and grievances that they committed in the past, if they are willing to resolve the situation and amend the previous mistakes made.
Considering all the facts, I believe the Parthenon marbles have enormous cultural value in Greece. The British Museum is replicating colonizer attitudes, and as an important artistic institution, they should acknowledge the importance of the marbles being repatriated to their hometown. The marbles belong to the Greek people, who can continue developing their cultural identity around them and create stronger bonds with their community.
The Parthenon marbles should go back to Greece. This because it's their place of origin and represent a big part of Greek culture and history. It is said that the marbles are also now part of British culture, but it will never mean the same to British people than what it means for Greek people. Taking away heritage from one country brings negative impacts into people's life, because it not only takes away part of their culture, but also their sense of belonging to something important that highly represents them and their history.
I believe that museums such as the British Museum, which have very important historical roots to colonialism, really need to ponder the question of whether they should actually be using cultural assets which are not their own and which other countries are requesting to be returned. I believe that this question of historical justice is very important to actually correct this cultural looting and cultural appropriation. And I believe that these kinds of museums really should return these objects, especially in the internet era, when they can still be appreciated in other ways.